Welcome to The Explainer. It's kind of crazy, right? You'd think the guy who built the most coveted sports cars on the planet would drive them absolutely everywhere. But no, Enzo Ferrari actually kept very few of his own masterpieces for his daily commute. Word has it, the man literally preferred driving a Peugeot. Crazy. But today, we're looking at a massive, incredibly rare exception to that rule. We're going to dive into a car so secretive, so absolutely special, that the boss himself used it as his own personal testbed. And to really get why this car matters, we first need to understand the astronomical exclusivity of Ferrari's flagship series.
So let's jump right into it. Section 1. The flagship lineage and the evolution of the Ferrari 400 Superamerica.
To set the stage, the whole America lineage kicks off in 1950 with the 340 America, and it evolves all the way to the 400 Superamerica in 1959. So why even build these? Well, Ferrari saw a booming post-war North American market that was just starving for power and prestige. So they answered with these massive V12 front-engine Grand Tours. These were custom-bodied flagships built specifically to conquer the American market. They were, without a doubt, the ultimate status symbol of the era.
And when I say status symbol, I mean it. To really wrap our heads around the extreme exclusivity here, just look at the price tag on the 1955 410 Superamerica. $16,800. At the New York Auto Show back then, that was more than double the cost of a Mercedes-Benz 300 SL Gullwing. No way, right? It perfectly illustrates just how unapologetic Ferrari was about this exclusivity. You weren't just buying a car, you were acquiring a piece of rolling art that practically no one else on the planet could afford.
Now, with that high-end exclusivity came a pretty fascinating corporate shift. In the early days, the 340 and 342 America models used even chassis numbers. Traditionally, Ferrari reserved those even numbers for their dedicated hardcore race cars. But right around the 375 America, they made a switch. They started using odd chassis numbers for these luxurious Grand Tours. Basically, they were drawing a very clear, deliberate line in the sand between their track weapons and their ultra-exclusive road cars.
Which brings us to the next chapter. Enter the 400 Superamerica, breaking tradition.
Making its grand debut in late 1959 for absolute VIPs like Fiat boss Johnny Agelli, the 400 Superamerica totally shattered Ferrari's oldest naming rule. You see, historically, Ferrari named their models based on the swept volume of just one single cylinder. But this time, the 400 badge stood for the engine's total capacity of 4 liters. Okay, if we want to get super technical here, it was exactly 3,967 cc. But let's be real, trying to sell a Ferrari 397 just doesn't hit the ear right. 400 had that clean, undeniable marketing prestige.
So how did they hit that 4-liter mark? Well, the older 410 Superamerica used this massive, heavy Lampredi-designed long block V12. But for the 400, Ferrari completely pivoted. They went with a short block motor instead. This was based on the brilliant Colombo design from their 250 GT series. What they did was stretch it out, enlarging the bore, lengthening the stroke, and basically beefing it up to reach that massive 4-liter displacement.
And let me tell you, the result of that engineering tweak was absolutely spectacular. We are talking about a claimed 340 brake horsepower at 7,000 RPM. It pulled off this massive power by breathing through triple twin-choke Weber carburetors. And because this thing was meant to be a true continent-crushing Grand Tour, they hooked that beast of an engine up to a 4-speed, all-synchromesh gearbox that even had an electronic overdrive on top gear. It was smooth, it was fast, and it was just devastatingly powerful.
All right, moving on to the design side. Pininfarina's aerodynamic concepts, the Superfast evolution.
You know, Ferrari is never just about what's hiding under the hood. It's about the visual poetry, right? The famous designer Battista Pininfarina actually took a single 400 Superamerica chassis, number 2207 SA, and used it as a live, rolling experiment to absolutely perfect its aerodynamics. The whole project was based on this Coupé Aerodinamico concept, focusing on these beautiful, long, flowing lines. It started out as the Superfast II, with an oval grille and retractable headlights. Then, over the winter of 1960 to 1961, it morphed into the Superfast III, getting a shallower intake and some tweaked glass. Finally, it transformed one last time into the Superfast IV, where it got uncovered paired headlights. It's literally a masterclass in aerodynamics evolving on just one single chassis.
Now, because these cars were incredibly expensive and rare, clients could basically customize whatever they wanted. I'm talking open headlights or recessed ones under plexiglass, push-button doors or recessed levers. Some even asked for rear wheel skirts. You could dictate your instrument layout, the custom paint, the specific interior fabrics, the whole shebang. Because of this extreme bespoke approach, you won't find two identical 400 Superamericas anywhere in the world. Every single one is a totally unique fingerprint in automotive history.
Let's get to the really juicy stuff. The boss's secret Ferrari, the mystery of chassis 4031 SA.
As we mentioned earlier, Enzo Ferrari almost never kept his own cars, but he kept this one. Initially, it rolled out in this gorgeous metallic silver green called Verde Dora, with a beige leather and corduroy interior. But here is where the automotive archaeology gets seriously fascinating. Factory records show this car was originally stamped as chassis number 3097 SA. But then, in December 1962, it gets mysteriously sent back to the Milan dealer Crepaldi Automobile. And when it finally emerges again, it's completely changed. Black leather seats, the front nose has been repainted to hide road rash, and, get this, the chassis itself was physically restamped with a totally new identity, chassis 4031 SA.
I mean, you can't make this up. The physical clues are just incredible. Whoever did the restamping was actually a little sloppy, because if you look closely, the faint shadow of the original 3097 SA is still visibly hiding right underneath the new 4031 SA stamp. And the mechanical anomalies? Oh man, they are everywhere. The engine, marked 1287A, was literally pulled straight out of an older 250 GTE chess car. It's got unmarked tube shocks, a totally non-standard adjustable watt linkage in the back, and a steering box stamped February 1965, which is literally years after the car was originally built. So what does this all mean? It means this wasn't just his commute car. It was functioning as a secret, ongoing engineering testbed for the factory long after it supposedly left the assembly line.
Today, this incredible rolling laboratory is meticulously looked after by the Revs Institute, who picked it up back in 2001. And preserved is absolutely the key word here. Not restored, preserved. Scott George from the Revs Institute points out that they actually take this priceless historical artifact out on 1,000-mile tours. They didn't just lock it in a vault. Now, for obvious safety reasons, they did swap out the tires, but they carefully saved the original factory Pirellis in a climate-controlled room. It's an actively driven, living piece of Enzo Ferrari's personal history.
Moving into our final segment, the legacy and current status of the Superamericas.
The entire production run finally wrapped up in 1964, with a grand total of just 47 cars built across two series. But wow, the modern market absolutely respects their towering legacy. Just take a look at some recent auction history. A 1960 short-wheelbase cabriolet pulled in over $6.3 million. Even the Aerodinamico coupes routinely command these massive multi-million-dollar premiums, fetching around $4 million and nearly $3 million. Those numbers objectively prove the sheer rarity and the almost mythical status these bespoke, low-production masterpieces hold today. Which brings us to a really thrilling thought. We've just seen how the boss's personal car, double-stamped and stuffed with experimental parts, essentially hid in plain sight as a rolling laboratory. So if the most iconic Ferraris out there were secretly doing double duty as ongoing testbeds for Enzo himself, what other wild mechanical mysteries are currently hiding right under the chassis stamps of the world's greatest vintage cars? I mean, the history of the automobile is clearly never just what's on the surface, right? It's all about what's stamped underneath. Thanks for hanging out with me for this explainer. Keep questioning, keep learning, and I'll catch you on the next one.